This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, miniatures, and paints, discount prices at miniaturemarket.com.
Hey everybody, it's your old pal Rob. Now, I've gotten this question a couple of times, and it's actually a quite easy fix, but also I want to show you some things that you can do to, number one, protect some of your stuff and make it a little easier for you to see certain things. Now, one of the questions that I get, believe it more often than not, is how do I integrate like Forbidden Fortress with City of Ancients and keep everything kind of controlled, or take and use the different expansions? Well, a lot of times you can take and make your own stories, and that's one of the beauties of Shadows of Brimstone, is that no matter what you have, you can take and integrate it and swap things and do different things and tell different tales. Like you could take the feudal Japan era and kind of go through a warp gate and maybe end up, on the plains of Torga, or in Frontier Town, or something like that. Your imagination and storytelling is really up to you. But how do you mix all the artifacts and the mind stuff and the darkness cards that you want to mix in there sometimes? The gear, being able to use the gear from Frontier Town, and taking it on further adventures and stuff like that. Well, I'm going to go down to the table, and then we're going to show you a few things, and it's really an open world to whatever you can do, and keeping it separated is easy. Now there are certain expansions, like for instance Hellfire Succubi, which we'll talk about, and how you can integrate that. We'll talk about it at the end of the video. And then there's just taking your sets and integrating them, the enemies and things like that. It's really a simple thing, and there's also some other ways that you can protect all your stuff and also be able to see it and go through it quickly. Let's go down to the table and take a look, and I'll show you some of these things, and then so here I decided to pull out a couple of expansions, Frontier Town and Hellfire Succubus, which we'll talk at the end of the video, how you can save space with a lot of this stuff. And a lot of times you're going to have gear and stuff like that you may get from these places, or there's certain encounters and stuff like that you want to mix in with your other encounters, or even the darkness cards. And one of the things that people always ask was, I'm afraid to mix it up. How am I going to identify it? Well, it's actually really pretty easy, because in certain areas, like these gain two hatchet tokens. Okay, well, that's actually pretty cool. But up in the corner here, you can see Frontier Town. Okay, there's a little star, and that has an FT. Now, this could be a real pain in the neck, especially going through this, like this here. Well, we know that on the bottom here, this is from Hellfire Succubi. Okay, so very easily you can identify each card. Same thing with the darkness card. Each card has a little symbol and everything, but it's really hard to see. So what I really suggest is, if you go to Miniature Market or wherever you want to go, Game Plus has these really good penny sleeves, but they're a little thicker than the penny sleeves. Okay, and you want to get the standard card game size, because I accidentally got the European ones, and the American ones, and they didn't fit anything, because I guess we just don't make anything here anymore. And all you want to do is you want to put this into, you want to sleeve all your stuff anyways to protect your cards. Okay, it makes sense, and it's really affordable and cheap if you do it. Especially, Miniature Market always has some kind of sale going on that you can go pick up this stuff. But for this, this is really small, and even with my glasses on, it's hard to see. But because you have the sleeves on here, go get yourself a marker. Okay, whether you want to use permanent or not. Okay, and just mark it HS. So now I know that belongs to that to this box here, okay? And it's going to save me because when I'm going through things, okay, HS, and I can just separate them quickly without looking really, really hard at the smaller print, okay? And when you're shuffling up these cards, you're not going to know any difference because all of your marks are going to be on this side. See what I'm saying? You know, and the same thing with the gear, okay? I mean, look how small that is. I mean, if you're going through like 100 gear cards, you're going to lose your mind. But I really suggest that you put these into a sleeve. And like this one's Frontier Town. Okay, no problem. Okay, nobody's going to care if they see an FT there, right? Of course, that's a poor FT. But there you go. And now you know it goes to that set. All right, and then you're mixing the cards together. You know that at the end that you need to put this back in this set after you've taken those guys as far as you can on the adventures. Okay, and by just having that separated, everything goes back into the proper box if you want, and then you know you're good to go. But enjoy it. Protect your cards. Mark your cards, and well, mark your sleeves, and that way you know what set it is. But if you're really looking, there is a little mark here, and that will tell you everything that you need to know. So if you want to use your Forbidden Fortress or your Swamps of Death and you want to combine things, just know that there's a little symbol here. Sleeve your cards, make the mark a little bit bigger, and then you'll have no problem keeping everything where it belongs and not getting it all mixed up the way I do. So let's go up top and get my final thoughts, and we'll talk more about how you can make room and stuff like that, and really just enhance what is probably, it has to be considered the greatest of all time, pretty much. You know, some people love it, some people don't. But I just think as far as adventure content, this is one of the best dungeon crawls out there today. So let's head top. Now, the neat thing with the Hellfire Succubus is, you know, like I showed you, there are the marks on the cards, and everything it's really, really small, and you really have to look at it, and you can really, you know, forget it. And this really fits into the Cinders expansions, that I really think that if you put it all together, you wouldn't be missing anything. Some of these you can save space and just add them to different box sets. Like the Cinders box set, you can add the Hellfire Succubus, and then all those tiles and everything just go together, and boom. You know, you save yourself some space. Unless you're a collector and you really like the boxes, I understand. Believe me, I think I do it more times than often. But you know, go to Miniature Market, make sure that you get yourself some of these Game Plus penny sleeves, sleeve your stuff, and as you enter stuff, say, well, you know, I want to do this expansion and tell this story with my Forbidden Fortress or my Swamps of Death or whatever, and make sure you have yourself a good marker. Just mark the penny sleeve, and it'll be easier when you're going through it, and it doesn't ruin any of the surprise. Because, you know, if you sleeve every card, it's a pain in the neck. But I think in the long run, you're protecting your cards. Number two, by initialing them, you know what set they come from. And if you're somebody like me that just likes to try to get everything in the right box and keep it together, because I've messed that up more than once, and now I'm really staying up on things, you can do that. You know, like things like this here, like with the Void Swarm here, I really suggest that you, if you want to keep these separate, it's pretty easy to do. But what I usually do is I use, like these guys, I use as a universal enemy, and what I do is I'll keep them in a box set, because I actually have. I bought multiples of these to put, number one, in my Forbidden Fortress, and the other one, this one here, is going to be painted up, and it's going to go into my City of Ancients, because it's going to be causing problems for our dear friend, the Drifter, and Tuco there. So hopefully they can survive it. But keeping those, keeping those in there and mixing those in and using them as as a ongoing thing is really, really cool. It's really up to you on how much space you have for this, because Shadows of Brimstone takes up a lot of space, but it is also one, if not the best dungeon crawl out there, because of the immense story that you could tell. And taking all the different characters, and maybe taking a different route, or doing something different, or telling a different tale. Maybe like the Drifter and Tuco, they go to feudal Japan and they play that. It's really up to you and how you want to experience these fantastic games, and it's left to your imagination. So I hope this helps a bit. I know that there's always some confusion on how to keep things apart and how to mix things together, but it can be done, and you can have a fantastic time doing it, and that's for sure. So until next time, it's your old pal Rob. We'll see you soon.